5 hours after the House passes the measure, the Civil Rights Act of 1964 is signed at the White House by President Johnson. Before an audience of legislators and civil rights leaders who had labored long and hard for passage of the bill, President Johnson calls for all Americans to back what he calls a turning point in history.
The Civil Rights Act of 1964 was a turning point in many ways. While the act certainly had its limitations, one of its enduring legacies is that it set a precedent for future legislation that could address additional issues of discrimination. As a template for this future legislation, the act continues to have implications today. 3 experts offered their analysis.
One of the important things to keep in mind about the Civil Rights Act was it didn't cover everybody. It only covered very specific protected characteristics. The employment provisions only covered sex, race, color, national origin, and religion. What that meant, though, was that it provided a template for future legislation. So we got the Age Discrimination in Employment Act. We got the Americans with Disabilities Act. We also got legislation that covered other human endeavors besides employment. We got the Fair Housing Act, for example. So all of those statutes, if you look at them, you can see sort of in their structure where they are direct, sort of close cousins to Title VII, to the Civil Rights Act of 1964. They contain the same kinds of employment discrimination provisions, the same kinds of public accommodations provisions. What I think the Act did was it provided a model for us to think about, we started with certain groups and certain activities, but should that be broadened? Should more people be included? And that's what the future legislation was able to do.
It seems like we're a society of incrementalism, that we can't do it all at once, that we have to take baby steps and then build up to the total.
And I think sometimes it's that we don't recognize and we don't realize until that group is impacted that group actually brings to the attention the unfairness of the treatment. Because sometimes we don't even perceive when we walk into a building that doesn't have a ramp that is an injustice, because we actually can walk up the steps. But an individual that can't do that, immediately for them, that becomes an issue.